friends. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your nice little tea break.
Yes.
Well, oh good. Thank you so much for your affirmation, my lady. Well, dear friends, where were we? Well, I was of course visiting Timothy in his living room, at which point he was admitting his most sordid, salacious, and very unchristian affair, and accusing his mistress of murder. At which point Timothy said,
Miss Marple, if I ever see Gertrude again, I shall end her!
Well, immediately after that, oh, Timothy, don't be so childish.
But I mean it, Miss Marple. I tried to tell the police, but she has an alibi. Her brother.
Timothy,
Yes, Miss Marple.
I am absolutely disappointed in you.
But
I knew your mother and your father. Your father was the local pastor. Your mother, well, she nursed dying people in the war.
Oh, it was a moment of weakness, Miss Marple. And there she was in her black and white striped shirt, handing out chicken wings. I was overcome.
You have disappointed this town.
I disappointed myself.
You've disappointed your dead wife.
Why twist the knife, Miss Marple? Please, you must help me. Why, I guarantee if you found her at this very moment, I'm sure she's probably up to the same thing. Why, she's probably blackmailing someone else as well.
Well, of course I will assist.
Thank you.
I will do everything in my power to gain justice.
Please do, Miss Marple. For if I shall ever see her again, I don't know what I might do.
Geoffrey, thank you so much for meeting me here at the garden club, dear.
You're very welcome, Gertrude.
As you know, you and my brother are pining after the same woman. Isn't that nice?
Yes.
Now, Geoffrey, have a bit of tea, huh? Just a spot.
Gertrude, why am I here?
Do you remember, Geoffrey, what you told me when we were just in university? Just graduated, in fact. You came to me with quite a secret, did you not?
A secret that I told you in confidence.
Oh, Geoffrey. I think the time has come for people to know that you got a woman pregnant, out of wedlock, and that you decided to put the child up for adoption. How do you think the people of St. Mary Mead look upon you? How do you think Elizabeth would look upon you?
They will not look upon me anyway, because you shall not say a word!
Oh, Geoffrey, don't be so naive. I've got something on you, and I don't want you to forget it. Now you step off and you let my brother go after Elizabeth, and you be a good little boy now.
Why are you doing this? You used to be someone that I could trust.
Yes, well that was before my diagnosis. Reverse psychosis.
I know what this is about, really. It is because I never showed the affection and love that you craved from me.
No, no, Geoffrey, that's not what it is.
That is exactly what it is!
Geoffrey, you're going to put me down into a spiral here if you bring up some things like that. You know it's not good for my health to bring up things of the past like that, Geoffrey.
You brought it up first. You wish to ruin my reputation here. That was a long time ago.
Oh, Geoffrey.
It was a mistake that I had made, something that is deep into my heart, something that I do not wish anyone else to know about.
It was a mistake that you had the child or that you put it up for adoption?
Both.
Well, that child is 12 years old now. When do you think he's going to come around asking questions about his father? Well, I'll tell you something. I happen to have located the little Jeremy. I know where Jeremy is, and I think that it's only my duty to go and tell him who his father is, no?
You will do no such thing, Gertrude,
Oh,
for I am a
Geoffrey.
very well-connected man, and I too can pose a threat upon you.
Jay! Thank you for meeting me in my office.
Detective Inspector.
Why, how fortuitous it is. Please take a seat. To find you After working with you for so many years, I come upon this puzzling case, and there you are, like always.
Yes, murder seems to follow me. I can't... Well, you know how it is. Murder, evil, a little town like St. Mary Mead. Well, it gives one everything that one needs to understand the human nature. And I seem to love investigating human nature.
That is quite right, Jane. Now, I have something direly important that I need to ask of you.
Yes, confess.
You see, before this case, I was investigating something little less sinister, but cheating, a scandal amongst competitive eaters.
Oh, yes.
All of them are dirty, all of them injecting into their arms, trying to get the best jowls for swallowing, elongating their esophagi. It's disgusting.
I imagine it is. Do you find some sort of relation? I've heard the details of the first poor Lucy's murder.
I believe that this is all connected to the beef Wellington killer.
No.
The very same one that you helped me track down 5 years ago, who mysteriously escaped prison not 3 months ago.
Oh dear, we worked so hard on that one, chasing him after the cows and cutting up the steaks.
Yes, well, it's my expert opinion that it is him, Mr. Wellington himself, who was behind all of this. It's very clear to me, unless you have another opinion.
Well, my dear, it's just that Mr. Wellington, he seemed a certain psychology that would, well, want to escape such a... If he escaped, that he would want to escape the country. Might you think it might be someone just a little bit closer? Someone who has motive, someone who has means. I have my suspicions. Why don't you let me work on this just a moment, and then we will reconvene and review. What do you think?
Jane, you are always a solid source of information and intelligence, and I trust you. Though I won't let go of my hunch, and I will be scouring this town for Mr. Wellington.
Oh, Jeremy.
Jeffrey,
Do relax. Do sit down.
you taunt me even now. It is Jeffrey.
But you know why I said Jeremy, don't you?
Yes, of course. It is you are behind this.
Jeffrey.
I should have known.
Jeffrey, please, let me explain. You're correct. I spoke to Gertrude, and I asked Gertrude to find something about you that could derail you from this silly competition of ours. But when she came back to me and told me the truth, my first thought was not the thought of victory, nor was it the thought of Elizabeth. Jeffrey, it was the thought of our friendship. How could you do it, Jeffrey? How could you make such a silly, silly mistake?
I'm assuming you are referring to my son.
Yes, yes, of course. I mean, we were in the abstinence club in college, Jeffrey.
It was a mistake. Passion came over me. She was a lovely girl. A woman with whom I never imagined I could feel such feelings. Christopher, I have to confess something. The reason why I gave that boy up for adoption and never spoke to the mother again was because I never imagined I could be a suitable father for any child. That's why I've never been with another woman since. For you see, Christopher, I, too, have been adopted.
You adopted?
Yes.
Well, then you above all should shrink from putting somebody else in that position.
You would assume so. But I was afraid. If my parents didn't want me, then something must have been terribly wrong with me. And I must be a terrible person.
Jeffrey.
I must have deserved this to happen to me.
Jeffrey.
Yes, I was brought up in opulence, and my parents did care for me and love me, but even amongst my siblings, I always felt this distance, this competition that drove me fierce in life.
Jeffrey, this foolish little feud between us, let's put it aside. After all, surely the bond between two good friends is stronger than that between a man and a woman? Don't you think?
And what about Elizabeth?
Jeffrey? One of us shall find her. But in the meantime, I feel like a cad asking Gertrude to dig up such dirt about you, and I feel horrible for the pain that I've put you through. Can't you forgive me? Can't you forgive me, and can't we be chums again?
I have something else to tell you.
Oh, my God.
You see, Dr. Brown was someone with whom I confided in. Some of my deepest secrets, such as the one I have expressed to you, he had known about this. So, after that night, when Elizabeth seemed to be ravished by your generosity in helping find the case solved, I decided to walk over to Dr. Brown's office. And just before entering, I heard Elizabeth inside with him. For you see, I feel and I think that those two were having relation.
Elizabeth and the doctor?
Yes.
Well, then that settles it, doesn't it? She's not for any of us. I say we put chums above love. What do you say?
Very well.
You know, I'll tell you something. For one thing, having you in my life again as a friend is more meaningful than I can ever express in words. And the other thing is, oh, Gertrude. Gertrude. I don't know how I ever thought to go to her and ask her to do such a horrible thing. It's growing up under her shadow, under her thumb. She's a wicked woman, you know, a wicked woman, and she brings out the evil in everybody.
Then you will tell her to not reveal this secret about my life.
I'll try, but I warn you, Jeffrey, that once Gertrude is set upon a mission, it's as if some malicious incubus takes over, and nothing can call her back from the edge.
Well, she must.
Gertrude?
Oh, Miss Marple.
Oh, thank you so much for visiting me in my garden. Do you not like the new trellis?
It's just gorgeous.
Oh, yes.
Morning glories, are they not?
Of course. Oh, do have a seat,
Oh,
yes.
thank you.
Gertrude, I have always been fond of you. I've always loved your mother and father. Your poor mother. Oh, that psychosis that she had.
Yes, it was quite dreadful.
It must have been very difficult for you to grow up with someone who commanded so much attention through her psychosis. You were always so quiet. You never picked up a word. And, well, after she was gone, well, it seems...
Miss Marple, can I confide something in you?
Of course, my child.
It seems that her psychosis has come upon me in a way that I'd never expected. I feel downright crazy, Miss Marple, and the only thing that helps me is the medicine that I was able to get from Dr. Brown, but there's no more medicine in all of St. Mary Mead, and I feel myself going mad.
Oh, dear. Yes, the crazy-inducing medicine, of course, and those with the true psychosis, it has the opposite.
It's reversed, exactly.
Yes.
Oh, Miss Marple, I feel so good to get that off my chest.
Of course. Oh, dear.
My mother, she was quite a dreadful woman. Oh, I remember when I was at my swim meet, I was just 7 years old. And my mother, she had a full-on psychotic breakdown. And there I was, I won, and my mama didn't even notice. Nobody noticed because there she was, on the floor, raving like a fool, like a lunatic. She never noticed anything, never noticed the most important things in my life. She was never there for me.
A poor child. And of course, well, in someone your position, you learned that you had to go to drastic measures to get someone's attention, did you not?
I'm afraid so. I'm not super proud of all the doings in my life, but I've done what I had to do. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't take the steps that I took in life to get here. I am a self-made woman. Miss Marple, you should understand.
Of course, my dear, I understand you modern girls. You have your ideas about being self-made. It's just, my dear, I just worry about you. Well, without your medicine, well, who knows what you might be capable of.
I'm afraid as well, Miss Marple. Honestly, I haven't admitted this to anyone, but I looked at myself in the mirror this morning at home, above the sink in the bathroom, and I just saw this horrible, ravaging person. She wasn't me. She wasn't me in the reflection. And I just don't know what to do, Miss Marple. I'm really worried. I'm afraid of what I will do.
I'm afraid of what I will do. Different. Yes, she was afraid. And in those words, after those words, well, our story finds another murder victim. But who do you think it was? My dear friends, which one of these folks was our final murder victim?
Jeffrey.
I heard Elizabeth. Poor Elizabeth. The only solace was that her digestive issues came to a final rest. And her poor body was discovered like this.
Oh, Inspector! Inspector!
What is it now, Christopher?
It's poor Elizabeth. She's dead, Inspector. Yes, she's dead.
Under my watch, no less. Wellington!
Sorry. I can barely remember all the emotions coursing through my brain as I came across her. But you see, I had come to terms with Geoffrey. He and I were rivals over Elizabeth's love, and finally we had agreed to put our rivalry aside, and I felt, as the man of character that I am, I should go to Elizabeth at once and tell her that I no longer thought that I was necessarily the right man for her. Well, I went to her home, and I heard the most beautiful singing, and I thought, oh dear, it was Elizabeth singing a charming air. The refrain I caught was, what was it? Oh yes, Walt and Matilda. But her voice sounded somehow different. It sounded as if maybe she had a laryngitis or a cough, for it didn't sound like the sweet, dulcet tones that I'm so accustomed to hearing from her. Anyway, I thought, what better time, when she is at a moment of joy, to walk in and speak frankly to her. So, her maid let me in, I went upstairs, but suddenly, when I arrived at the door of the chamber where she was singing, I heard a horrible crash, and a glass breaking, and a shriek calling out. I rushed in, and there she was, poor Elizabeth, lying by the hearth, with her eyes bulging, her fingers blue with oncoming death, and her knees knocking together in rigor mortis. I bent down to see if any breath lived in her heart, and with one giant fart, she died. I went to the window where the glass was shattered, and I swear, Inspector, I saw somebody running away off through the park, and yet I could not make sight of who it was.
Do you think, Christopher, that perhaps the person that you heard singing that Waltz and Matilda ditty was not in fact Elizabeth, but someone else?
Do you mean that the man who killed her was singing the song and ran off through the window after strangling her before I came in?
It could very well be true, and you said there was a coffin, yes?
Yes.
Well, the only person I heard coughing, well, I ran across your sister, Gertrude. She had quite a cough, but it could be her because, why, she was not the Wellington murderer.
Well, you think it might be my sister, or you don't think it might be my sister?
Do you think it was your sister, Christopher?
I'll tell you something, Inspector, but you must promise that if I tell you this, and it proves to have no bearing on the case, that you won't breathe it to a soul.
I will be confidential with the information so long as it is not pertinent.
Well, you see, Gertrude and I grew up, of course, in the same home, and with the same parents, and yet our experience of those parents were quite different. You see, it was very clear from a very early age that Mama favored me. I don't know why. I didn't do anything special to garnish her affection, and yet there was something she just didn't like about Gertrude. And as menacing and cruel and neglectful as she was towards Gertrude, well, she was just as loving and supportive and kind to me. I saw poor Gertrude in just this disdain, day after day after day, and I saw that sweet, beautiful girl turn into something quite hideous. One day, when she was only 9 years old, I went out to the tennis courts where she and I were supposed to have a lesson that day. The tennis instructor was not there, but there was Gertrude, and with the wire that one uses to string a tennis racket, she had strangled a kitten.